Hello, guys. I am Julia Gray, and today we want to welcome Miss Amanda to the Augusta University's Comm Department's first podcast. Today we will be talking to Miss Amanda Main, our very own savior here in the Comm Department. She is the administrative assistant who takes care of all us students and the professors as well. And Miss Amanda, do you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So, obviously my name's Amanda Main, and I was a student here from 2003 to 2007, and my husband also was a comm grad. He graduated in 2005 and works in television, and we've just celebrated our 10-year anniversary of being married.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we have 2 cats.
Nice. Okay. So I know you said you came to Augusta University 2003 to 2007. How old were you when you actually came to AU, and is there anything specific that brought you to the school?
So I took a year off after high school. So I think I started here when I was 19. I think that's right. Mm-hmm. And I had thought about going down to Valdosta State because my best friend from high school went there. But then I met my now husband, and he already went to school here. And then I ended up living with my parents while I went to school, which saved me a lot of money. So I actually had some money when I moved away. So, it worked out for me.
Variety of life circumstances.
Yeah.
Is there any specific reason why you chose the comm department? Were there any other majors that you possibly had considered?
So when I was in high school, I really found out that I love editing, and I considered being an English major, so I was undeclared for the first year. And then I decided I don't really want to read a bunch of Shakespeare and try to analyze it and all that kind of stuff, and my husband was already in the comm department, so I think that's probably influenced me a little bit. And then I thought, well, going into news, I could be an editor doing that.
Nice. Okay. And then accommodation-wise, how do you feel like the Augusta University school schedule, life here, has fit into your outside life, personal life at home?
When I was a student?
Yes.
Yeah. So it worked out really well. Like I said, I lived at home with my parents, so I was able to work like 25 hours a week. And then for the first couple of years, I was able to do my work schedule in the morning and then take evening classes. But then as my major classes started coming into play, I had to switch, and I ended up getting a serving job. So yeah, it worked.
Gotcha. Now, was that first position that you had, was that a position at Augusta University, or?
It was at a place called Palmetto GBA. They do Medicare claims processing. It was a great job. I could listen to music and just kind of my mind went off when I was typing these claims.
Gotcha. Okay. So tell me a little bit about your transition to Augusta University on the career side.
Okay. Well, I did go into newspapers. I don't know if you'll be asking me about this later, but my first job out of college was I moved to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, because I kind of grew up in Colorado when I was a kid. And I was a copy editor / page designer at a newspaper there. That was my first job. I worked in newspapers off and on for 10 years. I also worked at a zoo for a few years.
Cool.
And then I needed something that worked with my schedule because I was working nights and my husband was working days, and we hardly saw each other. So when I left Augusta, I thought, I'm never going back to Augusta, as many people do. And then a couple years ago, we just thought, we're not seeing each other hardly ever, and we don't see our family really. They're back in Georgia. We both just quit our jobs. We literally just quit our jobs. Well, we gave notice, but I gave like a month and a half notice. And then we moved back to Augusta in 2017 and stayed with my parents just to get on our feet. We stayed, I think, 8 months while he looked for a job. I got a job right away at the Metro Spirit newspaper.
Nice.
But my goal was to work at Augusta University. I started applying to jobs. We were in Texas at the time. I started applying to jobs when we were in Texas, and it's really hard to get a job at Augusta University, I found out, unless you know somebody.
Very prestigious.
Yeah, you got to know somebody. So I knew Dr. Van Tool in this department and Pam Hayward I go to church with. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Which that actually brings me back to another question. Do you think AU has prepared you for your field within the real world? And were there any specific classes or professors that you might have remembered giving you some advice to take heed kind of thing?
Like when I was in the newspaper career?
Yes,
Or...
when you were either in the newspaper or a student at AU.
Okay. Well, I think one of the things that really helped me was I was the editor-in-chief of the Bell Ringer for a semester, so that looked good on my resume. And then I did an internship at the Aiken Standard, and that also looks really good on your resume, like when you're going for a job to do an internship that applies to where you want to go into. What was your other part of your question? Just who helped me.
Oh, yes, if there was anybody specific who possibly mentored you or guided you.
Well, there was a professor here, he's no longer here, but his name was Professor Bosicio, and he was the Bell Ringer advisor, and he really helped shape me into journalism. But then also Dr. Van Tool, I took a few classes with her, and probably the most useful thing was learning how to use InDesign and designing newspapers, because
Fun InDesign.
Yeah, I did that in my job.
Gotcha. And then I know you said coming back from out of state, you did prior look for a job here at Augusta University. Was there anything specific that you were wanting to do here on campus, or is there an end goal for you working here?
I was trying to get a communications job. I had an interview with DCM, which is the Division of Communications and Marketing, and I also had a phone interview in the Hull College of Business. But those didn't pan out, but I really I value education, so just being here in this department, working with students on a daily basis, I feel like I'm helping shape future communication
majors,
careers, I should say.
Yes. And I guess I have just a couple more questions for you. Looking back at young Amanda, is there anything different you would have done or would have possibly told yourself?
This would probably apply more to high school, because when I was in college, I took that year off after high school, and I grew up a lot in that year and valued education. But in high school, I had this boyfriend who was kind of controlling, and we were together almost 3 years. And I didn't really put a focus on school back then like I should have, so that's probably, if I could go back and tell her, hey, you don't have to put up with this guy, then I would have broken up with him sooner.
Yeah, I think I would have had the same conversation with high school Julia, so I completely understand that one. And then is there any next steps, any future goals that you have for yourself? Is there anything specific that is on your to-do list next?
Sure, yeah, definitely. So one of the perks of working full-time at the university is I get access to free tuition and fees. So I want to get a master's degree, and I'm kind of figuring that out, and I'm thinking about elementary school teaching because it's always been kind of a passion of mine to help kids, and that was in the back of my mind when I graduated with my comm degree in journalism was, teaching could be a backup plan, so maybe that's in my future, but I'm trying to figure that out.
Nice. And I remember last semester they took a survey on possibilities of students who possibly would be interested in taking a master's in communications. Mm-hmm. So I, for one, think that would be awesome if they could come to Augusta University with that degree program.
Yeah, they're working on that. It's we'll see what happens.
How soon?
How soon?
Yes, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Amanda, I definitely thank you for your time, and I appreciate you talking to me today over the CommCats podcast, and I appreciate your time, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Julia.
Have a good one.
You too.